So, the warning, as we asked in a previous video, are they a rock band or are they a metal band? Let's think about this. Hey everybody, I'm Wayne, your metal professor, and we'll do more intro after we listen to the first cut from the Warning's 2018 release and second full-length album, Queen of the Murder Scene. Dust to Dust. I'd call this track metal. It doesn't have any shredding, it's not a fast song, but the power chords, the intervals, and the attitude, those all say metal to me. Also, I really like how the band here uses some layered guitars, some layered instrumentation, but not so many layers that Dany couldn't pull off those guitar parts live by just playing the topmost layer, with Allie filling in doing her usual very busy stuff on the bass. It's a nice change from some bands who layer so many guitars on top of the other that, okay, well, have you ever seen a band live or listened to a live recording and it sounds kind of anemic because they can't possibly reproduce all the guitar layers, all the guitar sections they have on the record? Well, I don't think that's going to be a problem with this cut, or with any of the Warning songs for that matter. Not only do Dany's guitar skills continue to improve, and she's a very solid player, by the way, but her vocals do too. In fact, near the end of the song, we get a really nice section of that sort of quasi-operatic thing that we so love from bands like Maiden and Priest. So, hey again. If you're watching this video, you might well have watched the previous video I made about this topic. I mentioned the Warning in a vid a few weeks ago called 5 All-Girl Metal Bands You Need to Hear. And I was subsequently not quite besieged with comments and even a couple of emails telling me emphatically the Warning is not a metal band, they're a rock band, they're a hard rock band. So I thought, let's check this out. In the first part, we went through the Warning's initial release, the EP Escape the Mind, and their 2017 first full-length album, 21st Century Blood. Short version, Escape the Mind is mostly soft rock, so we'll call it a soft rock album, while 21st Century Blood is mostly hard rock, with some metal sprinkled here and there, but let's call it a hard rock album. And that's how we're doing this, right? We are meticulously going through every album and employing a very complex, super scientific method of categorization. And however many songs an album has that belong to, say, the hard rock genre, we'll say, all right, it's a hard rock album. If it's got more metal than anything else, we'll say, hey, it's a metal album. But let's be very clear about this point. It doesn't matter at all whether we categorize their music as rock or hard rock or metal or the Lawrence Welk Orchestra. If you like the music, you like the music. I do like the music, actually, quite a lot. So that's what matters. We're just doing this for fun. Right. Real quick, if you like this video, and I hope you do, please give it a thumbs up. Do consider subscribing. That really helps me out. By all means, leave a comment. Now let's get back to Queen of the Murder Scene. We'll finish going through it track by track and then sum up the whole thing. Crimson Queen. Now in the last video from 21st Century Blood, we heard a couple of ballads that they were ballads, but they didn't really sound or feel like ballads. And that's the case that we have here. The power chords, the attitudes, this does not feel like some kind of, 70s pop rock ballad thing. It's heavy, and despite being a ballad, it doesn't really have enough of a groove to call it, a rock and roll, as it were. How about hard rock? Yeah, I can see it. But I'm going to go ahead and say that Crimson Queen is metal. Ugh. If the album's first two tracks made you a little bit nervous, wondering if things would ever really kick into high gear, this song should have allayed your fears. I really dig this song. the tempo, the attitude, the power chords. It doesn't really have a hard rock feel to it, but nor does it quite have a metal feeling to it. Nor, and this is a new wrinkle for this album so far, nor does it really have enough of a punk vibe for us to say flat out, yeah, this is a punk song. But its attitude is so sneering that I don't think punk is just an influence. I think there's a big old punk dose in here. So what do we call this? Hard rock / punk? Hard punk? Punk rock? Oh no, that's already a thing. I don't know. Let's split the difference and say it's hard rock / punk.
The one, the one, the one. Give me something I can feel. I'm too afraid.
The One. This cut has a soft, balladesque intro to it, and then it kicks up the beat a little bit for about 30 seconds, and then kicks it up even more for another 40 seconds. And that's kind of what goes on throughout the song, except we have a couple of piano interludes. After the first such interlude, we get into sort of a half-intense section, then some power chords, and then we get into cruising speed for the chorus. This staggered song construction, the tempo and the intensity sort of going back and forth, continues throughout the song, with the intensity cycling through about 4 different levels, actually, before the song ends with another section of what let's call, I don't know, lead piano or something. That leads right into the next track. Right then, let's pause just a minute and clarify something that if you've really listened to this album, you surely already know. Queen of the Murder Scene is a concept album. It follows the story of a young woman who goes from wallflower to murderer because she has a sexual obsession with someone who does not reciprocate the feelings. But she sort of takes care of that dilemma in the next cut, in which she murders him or her. Not probably your best move if you're trying to get someone to go out with you, but hey, the song is what it is. Now this video, this discussion, this is not like a full breakdown of the musical and lyrical content. We are just looking at how we can categorize the songs, again for fun, whether it's rock or hard rock or metal. But do forgive me if I pause now and again to make some comments on the content or the musicality, because, well, it's kind of what I do, and I like doing it. And it must be noted that for these young women, on only their second full-length album, to make a concept album, that is a ballsy move. It's nearly unheard of for a band so early in their career to do a concept album, let alone one that is critically and commercially successful, as Queen of the Murder Scene has been. And the care that went into, well, everything, not just the songwriting, but the production, the art, the booklet thing that comes with the vinyl and CD versions of this album. I'm just assuming there's a vinyl version. All these things say that the Warning care about this album, and they did it right. All right, more songs.
It's crazy how much I love you. It's crazy how much I want you. It's crazy. Oh, you don't even know.
Stalker has another easygoing sort of piano beginning, but with an intriguing low-level sort of background use of guitar and feedback that has kind of an unsettling mood, lest one think that the piano is indicative of the mood of the whole song. It's not. Things leap up into hard rock territory at about the 1-minute mark, and that is pretty much how the song continues until the end, when we get another, outro of mainly piano music. But this time it is not a segue into another softly beginning song. And this cut is a little more muscular than the songs that have come before it. So again, and it's not metal. It doesn't feel metal to me, but I'm going to say absolutely hard rock. Red Hands Never Fade. This is a seamless blend of rock and roll and hard rock. And like several of the releases on the band's previous album, 21st Century Blood, and as we have already heard on Queen of the Murder Scene, this song has that kind of musically two-part construction to its verses. The song kicks off with Dany's muted 16th notes, I think, on her guitar, along with the bass and drums providing a steady yet pretty sparse background for the moment. And then the power chords, Ali's usually, as usual, creative bass lines, and P.S.H.O.T.I.C excellent beat hit us at about the 25-second mark. We get a very short bridge, and then wham, it is into the chorus, followed by a sort of lurching post-chorus. I don't say lurching in a bad way. Clearly it's intentional. Then it's back into the muted chords and a couple of progressively more powerful sections before, again, the chorus, and we get a very abrupt ending. I don't know that this is anyone's favorite Warning song, but it's certainly not skippable. Sacrifice. This gives us another slow build before the ladies turn up the heat. This song gives us, in my opinion, a really interesting construction. It's got that intro with the steps up to that really rocking chorus, and then sort of a post-chorus sing-along section. And I think this is really cool, at about the 3-minute mark, we get a dramatic cessation of the intensity, followed by a gentle yet very creepy interlude, followed by a really well-placed one-chord exclamation point. Then it's back to the chorus and out. Again, a hard rock song, no question. I like this song, Sinister Smiles. It grabs your attention right away with a sparse, blunt opening, and soon enough the rhythm section kicks in. But there are multiple changes of what let's call the density, I suppose, of the music. The sparseness of that opening section comes back periodically, as of course does the heavier feeling of the rhythm tracks. And there are multiple sections of well-orchestrated and, again, very creepy, let me add, well-orchestrated choral parts throughout the song. I don't really know what else to say about this song, except that it sounds different in some ways to the rest of the album or anything we've heard from The Warning before this, or that I have heard. Yet it's still recognizably a Warning song. So, yeah, Sinister Smiles. I think it's a pretty cool composition. And hard rock all the way. And I like this song even more than the one before it. Dull Knives begins with an interesting little riff and then a tense section of chords and feedback. Then it jumps into the closest the band has come so far to traditional heavy metal territory. The musical dynamics here, the building of intensity, as we have seen in other songs, the intervals between the chords, the palm muting, and the attitude, that chorus that comes at us like a banshee. Man, this is good stuff, and it doesn't matter what you call it. But that having been said, this track is compact, it's eventful, and it wears its metal pedigree right on its sleeve. Again, I really like this song. You jumped to serve the throne, the crown is mine. Holy shnikes, Batman! This album gets better and better. I'll tell you how I prepared for this. I jotted down my notes for each song as I was listening to the album for the first time all the way through in one setting. And wow. Listening to it in one sitting is really, really the way to do it. I'll have more to say about that a little bit later. And this song, the title track, Queen of the Murder Scene, I would argue this is the most metal that we have seen so far. It's got that impressive construction that we have come to expect by this point. It's got heavy guitars, ominous bass and sound effects, a pounding beat from P.S.H.O.T.I.C. And Dany's vocals get downright menacing. And, totally needs to be said, Dany even gives us an honest-to-God's lead break about 3/4 of the way through the song. Dany doesn't shred, she's not a speed player, she doesn't take lead breaks very often at all, but when she does, as on this section, She's absolutely rock solid, and she puts in just the notes that need to be there.
1, 2, 3, they're coming after me, 'cause I'm P.S.Y.C.H.O.T.I.C. 4, 5, 6, 2, I'm not.
And from metal to punk in a heartbeat, Psychotic has Ramones written all over it, but with a sinister edge that the Ramones didn't use very often. The bar chords, the tempo, the beat, this is a joyful sounding song, even though the lyrical content is in no way joyful. Our main character has officially gone way over the edge at this point. And again, I don't know what else to say about this song. It's not really hard rock. It's certainly not metal. I'm going to say it's more punk than anything else. And I can appreciate that.
You can't escape your fate.
And it's back to hard rock again with a metal edge. Hunter has an interesting lead riff that sounds very Iron Maiden-esque to me. The song is tense. That lead riff is tense, like the soundtracks to a slasher movie. And there's a super tense building section with Powell voicing the character's good half, as it were, about 2/3 of the way through the song. So what do we call this track? There's enough metal showing through the hard rock that I'm tempted to lean that way, but I don't think there's quite enough, nor do I think if we say hard rock, that's quite doing the intensity of this song justice. So let's split the difference. Let's say it's hard rock / metal.
This is the end. So long, my friend.
Appropriately, this song is The End. And as the album began on a fairly soft but menacing note, so does it end. This is a melancholy hard rock ballad. It starts very softly, but soon enough it jumps up in intensity while still maintaining that balladesque feel. By the way, if you write the word balladesque in a Word document, the spell checker will get it every time and you have to keep clicking ignore all. But that's neither here nor there. There's some impressive vocal work going on in this song, and the song does not end the way you might expect it to. Give it a listen, you'll hear what I mean. So the verdict for Queen of the Murder Scene. First, let me say that after having the experience of listening to this thing, in one sitting, I think breaking this up into separate tracks is almost a crime. If you have a chance, put in your earbuds or, turn up the speakers and turn down the lights and recline and take it easy and listen to this thing all the way through. It is a great experience. So is it a metal album? No, it's not. If we are just going by the counting of songs, which is what we're doing, this is absolutely a hard rock album. But it is so well done. It is so well put together. It's just, I'm blown away by Queen of the Murder Scene. The ladies show they can get their rock on, even get their metal on, and make a concept album, a good one, an effective one that doesn't bore you all at the same time. And one more bit of raving about the fact that this is a concept album. There is no way in hell a major record label would have let them do this. Absolutely no chance at all. Now that The Warning is signed with a relatively major label, they've signed a 5-record deal with Lava Records, as I understand the situation. Queen of the Murder Scene is the last independent release we will get from them for a while. So let us hope the good people at Lava Records recognize that The Warning is super talented. These ladies are excellent songwriters, they're great musicians, they know what they're doing, and they absolutely do not need a corporate overseer looking over their shoulder and telling them what they can and cannot or should not do. So, right then, now at the end of the previous video to this one about whether The Warning is rock or metal, I said that in this video we'd look at Queen of the Murder Scene and Error. But we're not going to, because Queen of the Murder Scene has given us a lot to talk about, and I don't want to shortchange Error by putting it as the second half of this. I think it deserves its own video. But we are not done with this one yet. Let's check out 2 singles that came between Queen of the Murder Scene and Error, but that were not included on either album. Narcisista. It sounds very hard rock. There's even an honest-to-God's guitar solo in it, but it's got a real sneering kind of attitude, which is appropriate, as I understand it, given the content and the point of the song. So to me, it's more punk than anything else. P.O.W. is on lead vocals here, and again, as I understand it, this song is a big old middle finger to critics and hypocrites, which I gather have been something of a problem for the band in Mexico. Now, I can't swear to that because I don't know. There's obviously some kind of cultural thing going on that I don't get. But as I understand it, that's what this song is meant to do, to kind of say, well, and let's cut to the chase. It's meant to say, fuck you, to the people that are criticizing the band and telling them what they are or aren't or should be or should not be or whatever. And, you know, I'm very much of that stick it to the man kind of mindset. So anytime a band tries to do that, I'm behind them. Go, ladies.
Gripping your pillow tight, exit light, enter night.
Enter Sandman. Well, this is the second time that the band has recorded a cover of this song. The first was in 2014, which you probably know, and that was the video that inarguably kick-started their career. That earlier version was a more faithful rendition of the original song, including the lead breaks, not quite, but pretty close to note for note. So this is interesting to me. Dany showed us she has the chops to do really, really good lead work when she was an actual child. So imagine what she could do if she let herself really cut loose now. Now, there are probably reasons for her not taking more guitar solos now that the band is, well, you know, a big act. And it might have to do with the fact that guitar solos are very frequently pointed at as evidence that a band should be pigeonholed, right, as just metal or just hard rock. And I know I got a comment from somebody after the last video who very kindly said, how could you spend 16 minutes trying to pigeonhole a band into a category? Well, I'm not trying to do that. As I said earlier, nobody gives a shit what the genre of The Warning is. It's just fun to talk about and to appreciate all the influences that go into their music. But again, guitar solos, usually a metal thing, often a hard rock thing. And I expect it's a pretty conscious decision by the band not to do more guitar solos so they don't get lumped in with, you know, all the metal or all the hard rock bands and said that they are just of, you know, whichever genre. They've shown that they can and will do what they want in their songwriting. And again, I am all for that. Anyway, their 2021 cover, the single that we're talking about of Enter Sandman, with Alessia Cara sharing the lead vocal duties, is not remotely as faithful as the 2014 version, but is a really interesting song in its own right, I think. In fact, while the changes to the song might rankle, for some reason, some metalheads, and I'm a metalhead, I would argue this is a more interesting version of the song than their earlier, more faithful cover. Any capable band can do a straight cover song, but it takes something special in the mix to do a cover of the song and change it so drastically, and you've changed a great song and come up with another great song. That is a trick. This newer version of the song uses the same lyrics, it uses the same fundamental riff, but some of the chord changes and the tempo and obviously the vocal delivery in a lot of parts are very different than Metallica. And I would argue this is a really good song in its own right. So is this song still metal? I mean, certainly Metallica's original is metal, and The Warning's 2014 cover of the song is metal, but is this one? Well, it's not thrash metal or whatever we call Metallica's sound during the Black Album period, but it's not hard rock either. It's got a metal feeling to it. So I'm going to go ahead and say, for lack of a better category, yeah, this is metal. And that's what I've got for this video. Thank you so much for watching. By the by, if you'd like to buy an In Metal We Trust shirt or a Metal is for Girls shirt, there's a link in the video description. Yeah, I'm shamelessly hawking my own wares, but what are you gonna do? Again, if you liked the video, please subscribe, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, and come back for the next one, which will deal with Error. And so far, the only single that has been released after Error, and is not included on that album, More. You guys are awesome. I'll talk to you soon.